Hello. So, before I get started, for those of you who follow me because of my hair videos, please do not fret. They will be returning, even though there's not a lot. There will be more in the future. Um, I do need to get on a schedule. I realize that. Um, so I'm starting a series about Severance. I'm not in any way connected to the show. I'm not being paid by them. I wish I was. And I guess um, I could be considered a super fan. um, and so much so that over the course of about a month, I wrote a document about my observations, my hypotheses over and the last time I did an edit was like March of last year. So no, not March of last year, March the year before. So March 2023 is I watched it so many times and like for the longest, every time I watched it, I would find something new. I would notice something. So what I'm gonna do is I did really just want to like um post my document somewhere, but I think this will somehow be better. I don't know. Hopefully. Um, so I'm gonna read some of it. Hopefully, I'll read the entire thing by the time I'm done with season 2 or season 1, and then with season 2, I may add to it for that. I don't know. I did watch the first episode, and I may sorry. I don't think I'm gonna make any commentary about season 2 until season 1 is done. Well, my videos about season 1 is done. If you haven't already watched it, scroll away right now, please. Please, and hurriedly, because there's going to be tons of spoilers. And if you haven't watched the whole thing, let's say you missed a couple of episodes or you weren't really paying attention, scroll away for that too, because I saw so much it's not even funny because I watched it too many times. So here we go. It says I watched the first season, or it's watched me at least 100 times since its release. And because of that, I have a lot of observations, hypotheses, theories, and a few questions. Again, if you have not watched the first season, exit stage left immediately. The following is chock full of spoilers. This is for people who have already watched the first season from beginning to end, preferably at least twice. The following is out of order relative to the episodes and scenes, so bear with me. If you've watched it with intent, this might make sense, sort of, but if your brain works like mine, definitely I've got pinball scrambled egg brain. So the first point I make is Miss Casey seems robotic and cold in her movements and speech patterns. As far as I can tell, she's not allowed to ever leave the building, which makes sense given that the people who know her believe her to be dead. It's likely that the company took her from the hospital and most probably owns it, and she's not some morgue zombie situation. She might be zombie-ish, but her mannerisms feel like they're due to being in a constant state of fear, more so than everyone else that she tries to hide, and more than a hint of timidity from being mentally broken on purpose. She gives off the essence of a child abused by their parents who sees nearly everyone else as possible co-conspirators. Because that's how I read her. Like, she's so like in the scene where Mark and Helly go on that little walk. The fact that she said I was afraid, I was scared, it gave the hint that she's been going through a lot more than everybody else did. That's that. Like the poor girl is she walking on eggshells. walking on eggshells, definitely. Next, again, out of order, because that's how my brain works. Yeah, and this section talks about it. I guess I will read it. There were the scenes where Mark and Helly were missing, and when she came back into contact with them, she was very concerned for their safety, shaken even. Right before that, she informed Irving that Bert was in the conference room without being told or asked to tell him, which means she was aware of their emotional attachment, and they were purposefully kept apart. Helping them in this way is not something that the company would have been okay with her doing. This shows that she's exceptionally observant, because she picked up on the budding romance just as it began. Because remember, she was peeking out the door when they were looking at that artwork. When she takes the last long walk after being fired, she sheds tears and asks if her outie is happy. It seems that most of the time she's kept in some sort of stasis, sleep, or maybe something worse. Yeah. Excuse me. In the next section that I wrote, not even really related to what I just said, because scrambled egg brain. The annoying, overly fake, cheerful floor manager, Mr. Milchick, gives Helly's outie a BS manager speak story about adjusting, and claims that the company brings the severed into the stairwell to help them get acclimated. The only reason why she was in the stairwell was why was she in the stairwell? It wasn't because of him. It wasn't because he took her there. Was it when she was trying to escape? Maybe it was. I don't remember. And she even asked directly if her innie was trying to leave, and of course he lied through his shiny chiclet teeth. Innie Helly, on the other hand, immediately sees through all of the company crock, particularly when she was told that the elevator has code detectors that catches written symbols, a story she didn't buy from the start. Meanwhile, the Helly from the resignation rejection video feels and seems like a completely different person from any Helly and Stairwell Helly. It would almost make the most sense if resignation rejection Helly is an AI, or at least not some other version of outie Helly. And there's another person in the show, and I'll get to that eventually, that in certain situations it's like their personality shifts in a way that for their established character doesn't make sense. Let's see. The next part says, curiously, while the three innies were awake on the outside and earlier on, it's clear that the audience that Irving's outie has seen the severed floor. But the door he was obsessively painting never gets seen until Gemma, aka Miss Casey, got fired. I suspect that the outie Irving has been purposely depriving himself of sleep, which makes it possible to remember things that any Irving has seen and may not perceive as it actually is. That would also explain why any Irving has been reprimanded more than once for falling asleep at work, even if only for a few seconds. It's likely that outie Irving, Dr. Ragabi, and Petey knows that sleep deprivation makes outie access to some any memories possible, and the only ones who know. So yeah, that was my take on that, because like, how else? It doesn't make sense that he knows what that elevator looks like at all. It's clear that outie Irving has been investigating the company, given some of the paperwork that his innie came across while awake. and it may have something to do with his father, who I suspect that either he and or Irving had been a sonar or radar tech, because there's Navy related items in the trunk, and Irving's dog is named Radar. Regardless, I find it beyond. No, that's not what that says. Regardless, I still find it beyond that management punishes any Irving for falling asleep when he literally has no control over what Audi Irving does or how it impacts him. Lack of sleep. He's going to the break room for something he literally did not have control over. Why? Why? And in a way that's very much, it's like an exaggeration of the real world in that way, because how many people have normally get to work on early? Okay, that's a perfect example. How many people are there that normally on their everyday schedule get to work on early? Get to work early, and then there's some kind of weather issue, down power lines, whatever, and then management freaks out because they're a couple of minutes late. Like, come on. They weren't planning that there was going to be an accident like 2 miles from the job. Like, and this is, and that is especially annoying if you literally only have one path to get to work, or the shortest path has suddenly become the longest one, and there's like no way to get around it or fix it. And there are some managers that act like that kind of stuff doesn't even happen. Like, are you serious right now? And then of course you have the understanding ones that I had a job where there was a day where I want to say 20% of the staff didn't show up at all, and half of us were late because the weather was so bad. And we were all coming from different directions, and there really wasn't anybody who lived within 5 miles of the company. Like, everybody lived, 15, 20, 30 miles away from work. So, and it was like one of those things where, I forgot what they call it, but when a whole bunch of snow falls all at once out of nowhere. And so unless you were a suit, like one of those people who gets up, 2-3 hours before you actually get ready for work, you wouldn't even have known. And I definitely was not that person, because I gave myself a half an hour to get ready for work. So whenever there's a weather issue or like a traffic issue, I was definitely going to be late. But yeah, just the expectations, insane expectations of Bill Chick, what's her face? You know who I'm talking about. Is Cobell is just insane.